This is Women Innovation. This is Women Innovation Group's first online workshop, and we'll be having 3 this month, and we have 2, I believe, next month. And just keep an eye out on our website so that you can find out as we add more webinars for your learning pleasure. If you could take a moment real quick and maybe put in the chat what your business is so we can have an idea of what's going on with our target audience here. And while you're doing that, let me take a moment to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Sharon Hodges, and I am the founder of a firm that specializes in helping businesses like yourself. I've had a very long entrepreneurial journey. I started at 13 when I had my own house cleaning business. I did that while I was in high school. I chose not to work in fast food or retail, so I needed something a little different. So I had my first business at 13. And during this process, after I got out of high school and was going through college, I worked my way. I was a mental health technician. I was a letter carrier. I even was a tile layer while I was working my way through school so I could come out without a whole lot of debt. So I understand how hard it is to build, something from scratch and how important it is for you to have the right help. And it doesn't matter if you are in the startup or growth phase, the scaling or ready to retire phase. This webinar is designed to have some tools and hopefully some clarity to help you on your next steps in your journey. So business life cycle, let's talk about the life cycles of a business. I'm choosing to talk about 5 life cycles. You can do any kind of research on the internet. They say there's 4, there could be as many as 8. I like this breakup of 5, but it doesn't matter what you call them. Essentially, if you're in business from start to finish, then you will hit all of these life cycles at some point. So the first phase is a startup or hustle phase. This is where you're wearing all the hats. You probably don't keep very good financial records. You miss business filings and taxes. You have no idea because this is all new to you. There's a myth that goes with this phase, and it's that you don't need any help really because you're new and you're small. And this mindset could be very costly later. Your second phase is the growth phase. And this is where your revenues start to rise. You may hire some staff. You move from possibly just using spreadsheets to specialized software. And then you're starting to wonder, okay, should I consult with a CPA? And this third phase is called the scaling phase. There's a lot of references that put scaling and growth together. I like them separate because they do slightly separate things. And so this is where you are growing your business beyond the current limits that you have. And you're learning to work smarter, not harder. And it's about building a business that grows without breaking. Your fourth phase is your decline phase or your renewal phase. They're kind of there together. And this is where your revenue starts to decline and your business starts to fall off. You may be losing clients. Your product may have become irrelevant. So in this phase, this is where you have some very important decisions that you need to make if you want your business to continue forward. And of course, the fifth phase is the exit or legacy phase. And this is about selling your business, retirement, or succession planning. And this should not start right when you're getting ready to close your business or leave your business. You need to start this well before your business is in that phase. So let's do a little bit deeper dive into these phases. So here's some things that you should know about the startup phase. You need to be clear on what you're offering. Do you have a product or do you have a service? Be specific. Is it a physical product? Is it a service? Is it a digital product? Your value proposition. So what that means is, what problem are you solving for your customer? Why would they want to buy from you as opposed to your competition? And then, of course, your target market. Everybody isn't going to buy everything. So what's your ideal customer? And then how do you reach them? Is there an age to your ideal customer? Do they have an income range? Are you a higher end product? So someone who has less income, they wouldn't be interested in your product. And, what are their needs and their habits? You want to make sure that you're targeting your perfect client. And how do you intend to sell it? Do you need a physical location? Do you need an online store? Or is it a service business? Or is it a combination of both of those things. So how do you sell your business? Do you have an online presence? I believe in this day and age, with don't not having an online presence would harm your business as opposed to anything else. Everybody is online, just about everybody's looking to find you, and they start looking online. And then how will your customers be able to access your product? So if you have a physical location, they come in and buy it. If you have an online presence, can they order it and have it sent to them? And then how will they find you? And then how will you deliver this product? Remember, your sales channels need to match your customer behavior and your business goals, and or they won't be effective. So if you're targeting the 90-year-old community, and if they want something shipped to them, they call a phone number and they talk to somebody on the phone. If you're online and they can't reach you by phone, you're missing your target audience. So that's why it's important to know what your target audience is and how they buy. So, I mean, there are some 90-year-olds who do go online. I do have a client who is that age and they do a lot online, but most 90-year-olds are not online savvy. So you need to be aware of how to reach your target market and how they can get in touch with you. Another round of information that you need to know about yourself is, can you afford to start and stay in business? What's it going to cost you to get started? So you need to think licenses, inventory, website, equipment, marketing, software, computers, professional fees. There's a lot of things involved in starting a business, especially if you have a physical product. Not quite as much if you're providing a service, but if you have a physical product, there's a lot more involved than just, opening up a computer and starting to work. Operating expenses. These are the costs of doing business, whether you make any money or not. If you have a physical location and you have to rent, you have to pay your rent. You're going to have to pay utilities. You're probably going to need a phone. You're going to need internet if you take credit cards. You might need someone to help you at your physical location. So these are costs that have to be paid, whether you make a dime or not. So these are your operating costs. So it's not just about your product. However, your product pricing is very important. If you make or purchase a physical product to sell, what does that cost you? Because you also have to cover your operating costs. And if you need any employees, if you make money, you're going to have to cover your taxes. But you also want to end up with some money out of this deal. So you need to price your product where it covers all of your expenses, but you can't overprice it so that nobody buys it. So you need to know your costs before you start this process. And then the best legal entity for you. So your legal entity is, you've got options: sole proprietor, LLC, partnership, corporation, S corporation. There's options out there. But what's the best version for you right now as you start up? There's different tax consequences involved with all of them. There's different paperwork that's required to be filed. And so you need to know what's the best entity for what you're doing. Now, should you take advice from your BFF? Everybody talks to their best friend. Everybody gets advice from their best friend. So don't take advice from your best friend for this unless your best friend is a CPA or an attorney. And you probably get the advice free, so that's even better. But you need to make sure that you're talking to a professional who actually knows what they're doing before you, in this early stage, before you jump off this platform, because it could be very costly if you don't. And also remember, advice only works if you follow it. So it's important to new business owners that they have some consultation with a professional. You can make poor choices because you don't know what you're doing. And even if you can't have a CPA or accounting firm do your financials from the jump because you're not making enough money, having one on retainer as well as an attorney can get those important questions answered for you so that you don't make some bad mistakes. And what are you going to name your business? You need to have several names available, several choices that you like, because your first or second choice might not be available. So if you're incorporating, if you're going to become an LLC, you need to register your business with the state and find out if that name is available for you to use. If somebody's already taken it, then you need to use your second or third choice. And I've helped one business and we had to go to their fourth choice before we actually found a name that they could use. And once you've gotten your LLC or your incorporation or whatever with your state, you need to register your business with that state so the state knows what you're doing inside of there. And you need to get your EIN number, which is your employer identification number, and that comes from the IRS. And that tells them about your business. That's the number that you use when you do important tax filings. And even if you're a sole proprietor, I would strongly suggest that you have an EIN number because you have to do your business under some sort of number. And if you don't have an EIN, then you're going to have to use your social. And in this day and age, just putting your social out there is not a good idea. So I would suggest anybody going into business have an EIN number. And you also need to be mindful of some of the common mistakes that businesses make. And it's the most important thing that goes wrong in almost every single new business is not separating your personal from your business finances, not opening a business account, using a business credit card or, for your personal expenses or a personal credit card for your business expenses, not keeping receipts, underpricing your services, ignoring your cash flow. And cash flow is just the money that came in and the money that's going out, or waiting too long to get professional help. Just because you're new doesn't mean you don't need professional help. And here's some final thoughts on this stage, on this phase, is before you leap, have a good business plan. It doesn't have to be long. It just needs to be clear. Surround yourself with experts, even if you can't talk to them all the time and you can't afford to talk to them all the time. Maybe find a mentor if you can find one of those. Stay flexible. You're learning. This isn't, if you've never been in business before, this isn't something you've done. So have a good foundation, make sure you surround yourself with good people, and be patient with yourself because you're not going to know everything. You're not going to be able to do all of the things you want at once. It's a learning process, and you can grow in this. And the startup stage can last as long as 5 years. It can be really short, but it also can be long. So you need to be patient. Everything doesn't happen real fast. And oftentimes, if things happen too fast, you're not scaled to grow that way, and it could cause your business some problems. And then sometimes, and these are examples from my life, sometimes businesses don't work even if you want them to. I've consulted with a lot of prospective business owners, and two jump out as being very interesting. There was a couple, they wanted to start a business, and it was to help the community, and they were very, very gung-ho on it. And we had several consultations, and I had them do more research than what they had initially planned. They were going to go for some grants. They were going to do this great thing in this area. And I said, that is wonderful. However, will that area participate in these great things? Do some research about the area that you want and the people. Find out how they feel about it. And when they did that, they realized that area was not going to support this business at all. But at least they found out before they started that business and sunk so much money and effort into it, and it was never going to be viable. And so they went on to do different type of business, which was fine. And then there's another person I spoke with, and we worked together for almost a year and a half for her to determine after the end of this period. And yes, it cost her some money, but not the hundreds of thousands it would have cost her if she had started that business. But she realized that she could make more money being an employee in somebody else's business in that same arena than she would have if she started her own business. And once she came to that conclusion, she was very happy to continue on where she was. But she thought that she would branch out on her own, but she didn't realize the financial consequences. And when working with me during this process, she realized that it would not have gone well for her. And so she's still an employee, but she's much happier now that she realizes that's, in her instance, a better place for her. So let's get to this growth phase. And so you've made it through the hardest part. You've started your business and it's actually working. So now it's time for you to grow smart. So you need to build systems, grow your team, and work at delegating some things, some of your work. You can't do everything in this phase and have it work. You've got to go from, oh, yay, I can't believe it's working, to, oh my God, now what do I do with this? This is becoming too much. So you need to expand your abilities. So what do you need to know about how to grow your business? So you're going to have to work on your infrastructure. So it's, you're going to have to tighten up your business processes at this point before you get so busy that you forget to even do some of these things. And if you don't have any SOPs, and that's standard operating procedures, and if you have them, but they're not written down, you need to get them written down. An SOP is a written, detailed instruction on how to perform specific tasks. And I can testify from not having them at one time to when we put them in place. When I brought on someone new, I was able to give them this book, this instruction book, for them to use our systems, and they could work with that without me having to stand over them and show them every single thing that they needed to do in order to do this job. It frees up a lot of time. And if you don't have them and you're thinking, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get this done, I promise you that it's way easier to train a new staff if you have this written documentation. And then they need to be designed for consistency and efficiency and quality and, compliance. So your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, basically cover who does it, what they do, when they do it, where they do it, how they do it, and why they do it. And if all of those things are covered, it makes training and growth a lot easier. And then, of course, as the business owner, you need to learn how to delegate. So what's your least favorite job? You know, delegate that out. If you can hire someone that's capable of doing that, then you need to delegate that job. And in your market intention, the space that you're in, you know, is it working for you? Do you need to add something else to your space? Do you need to add online to what you do? So, who are your best customers? How are you finding them? How do you reach them? You need to know how to stay in communication with them so that you don't lose them. You also need to learn how to master your money. You need to know what your money does for you. You need to get comfortable with terms like profit margin, cash flow, financial position, financial forecasting. You don't need to know what your accountant or your CPA knows, but you need to understand what these things mean for your money. Your profit margin, how much above, what your business, what your product costs, are you making? So those are important things. A lot of business owners that aren't in finance try to stay away from those terms because they don't know what they mean, but it's very important for you to understand your money, because you're not going to know what your business is doing if you truly don't understand your money. And then you need to identify your income and revenue products or services. You need to track key metrics like your sales, your customer acquisition, your customer retention. You need to know those things. And you need to hire supporting roles. Do you need a bookkeeper now? You've been doing your own books, but you don't have time anymore. Do you need an in-house bookkeeper? Do you need an outsourced bookkeeper? Do you need an administrative person? Or maybe you don't need someone in your space, but you need a virtual assistant, somebody who is responding to emails or, any of those other things. So, and you need to delegate your non-core tasks to free up. So, like I said, if you have this job that you do, but you don't particularly care for it, it's not your favorite part of what you do, delegate that to somebody else. So things that don't require your attention. So in my case, I don't answer the phone at my business. I have someone else who answers the phone for me. I get all kinds of calls. I get sales calls. I get, calls from people who aren't even looking for me in my business. And if I answered the phone every time it rang, I would never get any work done. So I don't answer my phone. I talk to clients on the phone, but I don't answer the phone. So that's something that I don't need to do in my business. So you need to find the things in your business that you don't need to do, and then hire someone and delegate those out. And document repeatable processes, like I was talking about the SOP, the standard operating procedures. And then if you haven't implemented any basic services, or systems like invoicing or scheduling, then you should get those things done as well. We have a nice scheduling software that we use in our business that I like really well, and it makes things very easy, and I can access it from my phone or wherever. So, those are things, if you need scheduling software, those kinds of things are need to go into place now. And then, of course, you definitely need to maintain your monthly financial reporting, your P&L, which is your profit and loss, your cash flow, that's your money going in and out, your balance sheet, that's the position of your business at a current point in time. And then, create some budgeting and forecasting so that you can see how to grow your business and how to grow your money and where that can take you. And then you need some tax planning with a CPA or a really good tax professional. And then, of course, if you're growing, you may need to have a business credit card if you don't have one already, or set up some financing if you needed to get you through this growth phase. Growing pains are real, but it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that you're at a new level. So this phase doesn't always feel like progress. It feels like a lot of work sometimes. However, if you keep moving forward, then things can go better. And of course, if you feel overwhelmed, then that's a sure sign that you need to delegate out some work. Know your numbers, your financials, understand, and focus your energy on things that work, and you build the right systems and support. And then you can survive this phase and then start scaling up. Um, there's a question here. I'll get to questions at the end of this session, so that way I don't get off track. We're going to go to scaling now. So scaling, you're building a business that's growing, and hopefully it grows without breaking. It means going beyond your current limits. It's about working smarter, not harder. It's about building something bigger, smarter, stronger, without burning out and without breaking your business. Scaling what works, and this is what it looks like. So, what drives the most profit and revenue? What can you replicate? What's easiest to deliver in volume? And scaling doesn't mean doing more things. It means doing more of what already works, faster, better, and for more people. So, in order to do that, you need infrastructure. So if you don't have it, you need to build it. If you have it, you need to grow it. To support more customers, you need stronger infrastructure. And here's basically what that means. Upscaling your technology if necessary, streamlining your operations, strengthening your supply chain, expanding your space. You may need a new location, or you may need virtual space. And then here's what you need to think about. Ask yourself this: what will break if you double your volume next month? So if your business goes from where it is today to twice this by the end of the next month, what's going to break? What's not going to work? That's the thing you need to fix first. That way, as you scale and grow, that's going to work. And then once you've got that fixed, find the next thing that'll break first and fix it. That's how you're able to grow and scale and succeed. Expand your team. Usually when you're in that scaling phase, you need more people, and they'll be your biggest assets and your biggest investment financially. So it might be time to hire specialized talent. You may have to start building middle management. You definitely need to create a clear organizational chart. Who reports to whom? Who's in charge of what? What is their job? What do they do? Because you can't be the person that every single employee you have goes to if they need something. If that happens, you'll never be able to do anything else in your job, in your business. Develop, a solid onboarding process. That's where those SOPs come in. That's where your documentation comes in. That's part of a good onboarding process. And then every person you should hire should have clear responsibilities, key performance indicators where you're tracking what they're doing and how it's working and if they're working well, and then systems to support them. Like I said, you can't be the everything for everybody in your business. So you have to have these things sorted out. They need to be documented. People need to be clear on what they're doing and who they're going to if they need assistance. Delegation of leadership. You'll need to empower others to lead. So whether that's a COO, which is your chief operating officer, a sales manager, or even a team lead. And so what does this mean? What does this mean to you? It means letting go of some control. It means building trust with the people you've hired and the team that you have so that your job is to focus more on vision and strategy. And it's this stage is hard for a lot of business owners because we've gotten so attached to our business and we believe that it's not going to work if we're not the ones doing everything. You need to let that go or your business will never grow to what it can be. So this stage is absolutely necessary. You need to be able to delegate out. And then you can't, like I said before, you can't scale your business if you're the worker bee. You can't be that. So some strategic growth channels, in other words, expand your reach. Here's some ways that businesses have done it in the past, the way they're doing it now. So you can open up another location if you need to. But you need to make sure that you can financially support this new location until it can support itself. You can launch an e-commerce platform. You may have built such awesome structures and so forth that you can license or franchise out your model. You can create some strategic partnerships, or you can create a new customer segment that you're selling to that's different than what you've done before. And so this stage, you have to be strategic. It can't just be random expansion. It's not going to work. So as a sort of recap here, you want to double down on your most profitable offerings and channels. You want to upgrade your operations to higher capacity if you need to. So systems, technology, space, etc. You want to build your formal organization charts and hire some middle level management. You want to strengthen your onboarding and training and performance systems so that your new employees can come on and get right to work. And you want to implement automation if you don't have it. So automated emails, automated scheduling, those kinds of things. You want to keep track of your key performance indicators, your employees, their work, how they enjoy their work, how the company feels to them. Is this a company that they really would refer their people to? We all know people who are working in jobs that they don't like, and they would never send anybody to their company if they had a choice to refer. So those aren't, you don't want your job to be that for the people that work there. And you want to review and optimize your customer experience. You want to make sure that you're providing your customers with what they need. You want to give them good customer service, that you have feedback from them, and that you're responsive to what your customer wants. And then of course, if you need to access capital, make sure that you can get some funding or credit or whatever it is that you need to scale. And then you may want to consider at this time to reassess your business structure for your tax efficiency. If you started your business and you were sole proprietor or a single member LLC, and now your business has grown to this very huge thing, it's time to reassess your business structure, because at this point you're paying way more tax than you should be, and a different structure would be appropriate for your business. So this is a time, if you haven't done it before, when you need to determine, do you need to change your business structure? And then, of course, you need to protect your business. So update client contracts. Don't have a client that you've been working with for 15 years and they've never had a new contract. You need to make sure that you have your appropriate insurance. As your business grows, your insurance needs also change. And then make sure you have a legal review of, are your contracts good? Are they appropriate? Those kinds of things. So, so scaling your business, it can be, you can thrive and you don't have to do it all. It's about systems and structures and strategy and strong leadership. And you are the leader in this business. You've built a foundation, and now it's time to expand with intention. And it's not about being perfect because none of us are perfect, but it's about making good progress. And you want to build a business that fits your life instead of your life just being all about your business. Now we're going to hit a stage that happens to every business, whether you want to or not. I've hit that stage already, so I'm already doing something different. But this is the decline in the renewal stage. If you're in business long enough, you're going to hit this stage. Decline is characterized by reduced revenue, shrinking market shares, customer attrition, and internal stagnation. So customer attrition is you're losing customers. And then internal stagnation, your employees might not be happy or they've just gotten complacent. People in the hierarchy of your business, they've also gotten complacent, and nothing's really moving forward. It's not always dramatic when it happens. It's often slow and you don't really catch it. You're not paying attention and you miss it until you're well into it. And then you look around and you're like, oh my gosh, I wasn't paying attention. Here I am. My business is declining. And so if it's left unchecked, then your business is going to collapse. Renewal is when you actively choose to pivot your business. You choose to reinvent yourself, whether it's new product offerings, a different business model, bringing in different leadership, changing your brand or your culture. It's a way for you to become relevant and competitive again. And this stage is usually triggered by the decline stage, when a business realizes that they're in this stage. And it's like your wake-up call. But then oftentimes there's businesses that will start this stage before they hit the decline. So they can see that right now they're still good, but as they're looking into the future, they can see that they're going to hit that decline stage, and they choose to make this renewal before they hit that decline stage. So key factors of decline: consistent drop in sales or profits, losing relevance or customer loyalty, outdated technologies or processes, increased employee turnover, and leadership disengagement or complacency. So the people in charge aren't really interested. They're just here. Nobody really cares. And so some causes of decline. So market irrelevance, failing to adapt to change, changing in customer needs. And that happened a lot during COVID. When COVID hit, and businesses that provided services weren't able to see people anymore. And if they weren't able to pivot mostly into online activities and like Zoom meetings and so forth, they had to close their businesses because they weren't able to adjust. There's innovation fatigue, so lack of new products or services. You can't come up with something new. Your products or services are now irrelevant, and so you can't figure out what to do. So that can cause you to hit that decline stage. So operational inefficiencies. So your costs are going up faster than your revenue, which we can see that happening now. If you bring in products from China and they've got all these high tariffs on them, your prices are going up, but you can't always pass that same cost on to your customers. And then, of course, brand erosion. So you have your reputation as a business has gotten bad, or it's poor now. You've lost trust with your clients or your customers, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the business owner who has done this. It could have been employees that you haven't been paying attention to. So there's reasons other than the business owner has become bad, but you're eventually responsible for what happens in your business with your employees and so forth. And then the poor succession planning. So leadership vacuum and, loss of trust in the leadership of the company. And businesses often hit the decline phase because of burnout of the owner, underfunding, or life transition. Something went wrong or changed dramatically in your life that's caused you to not pay as much attention to your business. And it doesn't have to be a failure of vision or your capabilities. Life sometimes happens. Well, life always happens, but sometimes it's just worse than others. But in order for you to survive this stage, at this time, you're going to have to cut costs and optimize your operations, focus more on your core profitable segments. So you're going to have to scale back just a little bit to make sure you're not overextending while you regroup. And of course, if you want to stay viable, then this is where you need to reinvent your business. And so you have really important decisions to make here on whether you're going to reinvent and pivot and go forward, or whether you're just going to, at this stage, say, okay, let's move on to this exit stage and get on out of here. So if you're going to renew, if you want to renew and reinvent your business, then you need some key strategies. So customer-centered innovation. So revisit if you've had customer feedback and stuff that you've collected from customers about their experiences or what you could do to improve. Then you want to go through that feedback and revisit that and your customer pain points. You want to find a solution for that information that you have so that you can re-engage those customers. You may want to build new products or services that align with, evolving needs. Again, we saw this a lot with COVID. So restaurants, they couldn't have people come in and eat, but they expanded their takeout business to, extraordinary heights in order to maintain their business. There, used to be able to get takeout to go, but you couldn't get alcohol to go. You could go to a restaurant, you've ordered your food, you've ordered your mixed drinks, and all of that is packaged for you, and you go home with everything that you need. So where before you couldn't take a drink to go, now obviously you're not supposed to be drinking in your car, but you can get this, you can get your margarita with your Mexican food all as a takeout, and then you can take it home. And then of course, grocery stores pivoted, and a lot of stores pivoted. You could order online, pay online. They would pick it up, package it up, deliver it to your car, and put it in your trunk. So these were things where businesses had to change quickly what they were doing in order to stay relevant and stay open. So you need to find those things that you can evolve to help your business become viable again. And another one was telemedicine. Everybody went in to see the doctor. Well, you couldn't get in to see the doctor, but you could do a telemedicine session. Yeah, I didn't particularly care for it. I didn't find it the best way to, figure out what was going on, but it was still a way to get a conversation with a medical professional to see if you could get some assistance. And so there's a lot of examples, and a lot of change happened during COVID. So change can happen. So if your business is in that stage and you need to look for change, find a way if you want to keep your business viable. And then, of course, you can explore new modes of delivery, so digital, subscriptions, those kinds of things. So rebranding and messaging. Update your visual identity and tone to reflect current values. Tell a new story that connects with today's audience. You may need some new leadership or new cultural reset. So bring in a visionary leader if you can, or become that new visionary leader if you can't bring someone in. Promote cultural values and empower your team, because people who work for you, they want to feel important to you and they want to feel important to the business. So if you can help empower them, then they can make some changes too, and that will greatly help your business. And some other examples of renewal actions. So brick and mortar store, you need another one. So you launch that, or you have a brick and mortar store and you want to add a digital line. So you can add more products or services, but you don't need another new location. Or if you're a consulting firm and you pivot from doing just consulting all the time to a membership-based online learning model. This is a way for you to bring in additional revenue without having to go out to a whole lot more places. Or, you can be a local service provider, and, you can you can do some things that help impact your town or society, and then you can go for grants in that. You can be a for-profit business and still get grants as long as you're doing things that help inside this grant. So those are other ways to bring in new money to reinvent yourself. So decline doesn't mean it's an end, but it is a very important decision point. And then, you can decide to renew, revitalize, or you can decide to go. But there's very important decisions that you have to make in that stage. So if you want, if you're looking to reset your business, revitalize your business. There's digital transformations that you can make. So that's modernizing your systems and your infrastructure if you hadn't done that before, and improving your customer experience with better technology tools. So e-commerce or automation and those kinds of things. You can go with strategic partnerships. We talked about that a little bit earlier in your scaling phase. You can collaborate with a startup or tech firms if you're in that kind of business, or you can get into a joint venture with another firm. Say your product or service does one thing, and there's another business that's product or service complements yours greatly, but they're not the same, but they complement each other nicely. Maybe you can do a joint venture with that other business so that you both can go forward with the complementary services, and you can, your clients and their clients can become each other's clients. So there's all kinds of ways that you can do this. So, and, don't think that it just has to be you and your business going it alone. And you need to track, your metrics. So your customer retention rate, your employee engagement score, and that's how well the employees do the work, how much they like being at your job. What is their work experience? You need to know what that is, because your business isn't going to go forward greatly if your employees don't like what they're doing and they don't like who they're doing it for. And you need to keep track of your revenue for new products and services. Was this new line worth it? Is it really making money? Is this new service actually making money, or is it costing us money? And then, your digital engagement. Do you have your website? Do you have an app? Do you have social media? Are you tracking those things? Are those things working for you? And so those are some of the things that you can do in this arena of reinventing yourself or your business, so they can go forward and come out of that decline stage and keep moving forward for you until you're ready to go into your exit plan. So exit or succession planning. And this is the part where you step away. You're selling your business, or you're closing it, or you're passing it on to a key employee or a relative. And it doesn't matter what you choose. The exit plan should start long before you're ready to go. So if I decide I'm done next year, I shouldn't start my exit plan now. I should have started it years ago. So, here's some things to ask yourself when you're considering your exit or succession plan. What do you want to do next? Do you want to sell? Do you want to walk away? Do you want to stay on as a part-time advisor? Do you want to hand it off to an employee or to employees or a key employee, or do you want to hand it off to a family member? Whatever option you choose, you need to have your personal goals set. So, do you need income when you stop doing this business? Do you need income? Are you wanting to leave a legacy for your heirs? Are you looking for money to start a new venture? Your exit should align with your life plan and not just the business matrix. And know your options. There's more than one way to exit. So you can sell to a competitor, investor, private equity firm. You can transfer your business to a family member or to a key employee or to all the employees. You can merge with a larger company. You can franchise or license your model. We talked about that earlier. Or you can close your doors. All the paths come with pros and cons, and they all have tax consequences. And so that's where a CPA and an attorney and possibly a business broker, can come in and be part of your dream team to make this work the way you'd like it to work. Make your business transferable. If you want your business to run without you anyway, it has to be transferable. And so what does that mean? Document systems and processes, which I've talked about plenty. Clean and accurate financial statements, a stable, trained team, and up-to-date contracts and customer data. Buyers and successors want a business that runs like a machine, not a personality brand that they can't duplicate. Somebody can buy my business, but they can't duplicate my personality. Is my whole business my personality? If it is, then I'm going to have a lot of problems when I go to leave. So if you can remove yourself from the day-to-day operations, then the higher the value of your business is. And if you're planning to pass your business on to someone, whether it's a family, an internal leader, succession plan is the key, and you need to do it right. So you need to identify and develop your successor early. You need to know who this person is or persons. You need to create a timeline for when you want this to happen, for you when you want this transition to happen. You can't talk to a person about succession planning. You want them to take over the business, but there's no end in sight for them. So you need to have a timeline so that this person who's going to be taking over or buying you out knows what they're doing, how to prepare. Because if there's no end in sight, there's no incentive for them to continue on with this. And you need to build a plan for the mentorship and the handoff of your business. You also need to communicate change with the team. So once this is a solid decision and you're working towards it and there's a timeline on it, then your team and your clients need to know what this is so that they're also prepared and aware. And it's not just about skill of the person that's taking over, it's about trust. So your employees need to be able to trust this person, your clients need to be able to trust this person, and so that the handoff is smooth and it builds confidence. Cleaning up of the financials. This is important. So you need to recast your financials. If you have personal expenses that you've been doing through your business, you need to stop, especially at this point. You should have stopped a long time ago, but you definitely need to stop now. And then you need to reduce unnecessary liabilities. So if you have some bills, some liabilities, some debt out there that you've just been paying on monthly because it was easier or it was more expedient or whatever the case was, then you need to pay off that debt if you're able to. If you still got excuse me, if you still have your business and your personal commingled, you need to separate it out. You also need to get a professional business evaluation. And it's surprising how much value can be lost on a dirty balance sheet. So clean books equals stronger negotiations, which of course equals more money in your pocket. And lastly, let's look at the tax and legal and emotional planning that's involved in this, because getting rid of your business is not just a financial activity, it's an emotional activity too. So you need to work with a professional. You need to structure your sale or your transfer for tax efficiency. I worked with a client, they were new to me, they had sold their business before they met me. And the CPA who did the tax return did it as an asset sale, the value of the assets. Well, the value of the asset in that business was $500. He sold the business for $500,000. The tax consequence on that was a nightmare. But the person who prepared the tax return didn't read the sale. It was actually a stock sale. Well, he paid $300,000 for the stock. So his value in the company was $300,000. He only paid tax on $200,000 the right way. But if it had been continued on the wrong way, he would have paid tax on almost the whole $500,000. So it's very important that you have your sales structured appropriately. You make sure that you have your contracts updated with, of course, your clients and so forth, that all your licenses are accurate and valid, and that you have proper ownership records. And then, of course, you want to make sure you protect your assets after you exit. And then you want to plan for your next chapter, personally and professionally. So you're not just exiting your business, you're stepping into a new season. And so you want to plan for it so that it works for you. And exit and succession planning isn't just about leaving, it's about finishing well. Whether you retire in your next chapter, reinvent, or relax and travel. Planning ahead puts you in control. So this takes you to the end of my presentation. We do have some time left for some questions if anyone has any, and I saw at least one. So if I could, Gail, if you could get that back up to me, I'd be certainly happy to answer that question now.
So, the question was, do you suggest using your personal credit cards in your business?
I don't suggest you do that. I know that there's issues where sometimes you have no choice. Um, but if you're going to use a personal business credit card in your business, then make sure that that's the only thing you do on that credit card until you can get a business credit card.
Okay. And then the next question is, if you are in business and you're not making money and you're losing, how long do you suggest staying in that business? are going back into a job.
Okay, so if you've looked at all the options on how you can pivot your business into something else and none of those are going to work for you, or if there are no other options for you to pivot that business, then I suggest that you exit as soon as you realize there's nothing different that you can do. Um, I think it's worth taking some time, and considering I don't know what this business is or what it does, it is worth some of your time if you want to be in business as opposed to having a job to find out if there's a way that you can expand or pivot this business that's not going to be too costly to you. And if you can't find those ways, then you need to exit before before it becomes a blood loss, honestly.
All right. And so these are suggestions, questions I'm just going to throw out. We have one person that came out of Fortune 500, exiting, transitioning into their own consulting firm. Um, what would be your suggestion for them?
So they're starting their own consulting firm.
Looks like they're getting into executive to consulting. Yes. And they were in Fortune 500.
Okay. So they need to know who they're targeting as potential clients. So if they're coming out of Fortune 500, if they don't have a non-compete agreement, and if they're consulting in an area where they worked in that Fortune 500, they have a vast array of potential client options. So as long as you know who your target customer is and you know you have a way of getting to these particular people, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what other advice. I would absolutely say go for it. If you're consulting, your startup costs will be minimal, which is good for good for you. You just need to make sure that you have a way to get to your customers. And like I said, if you don't have a non-compete, then you're fine. But if you do, then you've got to be careful who you go after and how you find them.
All right. And that's it for questions. No one has put any other questions in the chat box.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the questions and obviously I'm happy to answer them. And I really, really appreciate you guys showing up this morning. Thank you for your time and for paying attention. And if you have, any way of getting, I'm not sure how the feedback setup is here for us, but I would certainly appreciate feedback. This is, well, one of my first ones coming back after COVID for doing presentations and live presentations. So, I know it can be a little rocky and a little rough, so I appreciate any feedback that you can give me, and it would be greatly appreciated. And then I want to say, let you know that next Saturday, I believe it's also at 10 o'clock on the 14th, we're having another workshop, and it's called Want to Travel and Don't Know Where to Start. And it's by Jean Jennings. And you can go to the Women Innovation Group's website and take a look at it and all of our other upcoming workshops and sign up for any of the things that you're interested in.
It's going to start at 11 o'clock,
Oh,
11
okay, 11 o'clock.
a.m. Jean is actually on this workshop as well. And we will be posting this workshop on YouTube, on our channel on YouTube under Wigs Chicago, as well as Women Innovation Group handle.
Okay. So I'm hoping that there was some great information here for you, no matter what stage of business that you're in. And obviously, if it's going to be out there on our YouTube channel, then you can go back and reference anything you need. And of course, I can be found out there on the internet as well if anybody is interested or needs to talk to me as well.
Can you put your contact information in the chat box, Sharon? We
Can
will
I?
Sharon Hodges information
Hold on a
on the
second.
YouTube.
I probably can't because I can't find it from
Okay.
here. I said I'm not good with Zoom. Oh, I found it. Okay, I found it.
And thank you so much for being, this is our first workshop under Women's Innovation Group for 2025. We're going to be taking suggestions. I'm Gail Newcomb. I apologize, I don't have my face up, but I'm Gail Newcomb. I'm the Executive Director of Women Innovation Group. Sharon is actually our treasurer. We will be doing workshops throughout the year. If there is a topic that you would like more information about, If you can email us, you can go to our website and just kindly send uh, an email through our workshop. I mean, under our messages, contact about different workshops you might be interested in. But thank you for joining.